Hey guys, I really didn't think I'd be making this type of video when I came back to YouTube, and I know I've been gone for a long time, and I thank you for those who do know the situation, for all the messages I've received, and emails, and tweets, and everything else of support that I've been given these past couple of weeks. It's been difficult, and if I sound weird at all during this video, just know it's because I did have a seizure about a week ago, and I wound up biting down on my tongue, so the sides of my tongue are still healing, so some of the words I'm saying might sound a little on the weird side. I also want to say that this video isn't scripted. I don't have anything written down. I'm just going to be speaking from my heart, my brain, so please bear with me. It's been difficult. So I've been missing from YouTube for about 6 months now. And 6 months back, things were starting to get a bit chaotic for me in my life with my own personal health. I was getting a lot of pains in my stomach, a lot of seizures, anxiety was very high. There was just a lot of factors coming into my personal health that I had to get checked out and figure out what was going on. I'm still in the process of that. That kind of just took a back seat because my life completely changed. Chummy B and I decided to move to North Carolina, so that was something else that took us away. We're no longer in Florida. We had to move somewhere else for baby B. It was just way too hot down there in Florida for him, and honestly, it's not somewhere I wanted him to be raised. So we decided to move to North Carolina. Now, during the summer, I have a summer home over in Pennsylvania that I've had since I was a child. My parents had it since way before then with my older brothers, and every summer, my mom and dad would go up to Pennsylvania for the whole summer and stay there. So last summer, they did that, and they wound up coming back and realizing, oh, like we moved to North Carolina, so they stopped in North Carolina on their way back to Florida to come visit us here. And now, when my dad came to visit, he was acting on the strange side. He walked towards our apartment and he took 2 steps and he was completely out of breath, which is not something that was normal for him. He has asthma, and he would sometimes have trouble breathing, and he did have some trouble walking because he's top heavy and getting older in age. He was 72 at this time. It was just something I thought maybe getting older. It scared me, but my mom didn't really say too much, so I just figured, well, maybe it's just something's going on, and I guess we'll figure it out. So he wound up coming down into the apartment, and he did not want to go anywhere. Like, he usually always wanted to go to the park or check out somewhere new with baby B. He was always up for doing something, but the whole time he just kept saying to me, Pinkley, I just want to sit here. I want to watch TV. So we let him watch TV. We would play in the living room with baby B, but he would never move from his chair. He just sat there, would smile, didn't talk too much. Things were really off, and I brought my mom to the side. She goes, yeah, something's off with your father. We're going to be going to the doctor when we get back. So they stayed with us for about 2 weeks. Then they went back, and apparently everything was okay with my dad. He went to the heart doctor. Everybody was saying, oh, he's fine, he's fine. It just seems to be his asthma, probably from the hot summer, and they were keeping an eye on him. So I was like, okay, I'm not smart medically. I was just taking what I was being told and saying, okay, everything's fine, because no one really wants to go down that dark road where they think to themselves their parents aren't fine. So Christmas came around. Usually they would come for Thanksgiving, Halloween, all the holidays, but my dad wanted to stay there because he still wasn't feeling too great, and he wanted to make sure that he can have easy access to the doctor if he wasn't. So when Christmas came, he started to feel better. And he came for Christmas, but as soon as Christmas was over, he went right back down to Florida, and that wasn't normal either. My dad normally would stay through New Year's. He wouldn't be in a rush to go anywhere. He would want to spend as much time as he could with the family. I mean, both my parents are retired, so they don't have anywhere they really need to be. So I was kind of brokenhearted, like, why is he jetting off so soon? But when I saw him again, he was also just very wobbly, didn't want to walk, also did not want to go anywhere, just sat there, was coughing very violently. Like, my dad was always known to cough, but he was coughing really violently to the point that it scared me. It like scared me awake. And I would hear my mom constantly saying to him, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And he would be like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just, a little dry. My throat's dry." And my dad's the type, he won't tell you if something's not bothering, like if something's bothering him. I mean, he won't tell you unless it's really bad. He's terrified of doctors. He's terrified of hospitals. He don't want to be anywhere near them. So when he decided to go back right after Christmas to go down to Florida, my mom said, "We're gonna go to the doctor. He's not feeling right." I said, "Okay." So months go by. He's going back and forth to the doctor. He's not doing anything, just sitting on the couch, watching TV all day, doesn't want to go out. He starts getting to the point where he doesn't, like, he can't walk. He had to buy an electric scooter for himself. He couldn't lift himself off the couch. He didn't want to take showers in the bathroom. He felt scared of being in the bathroom because my dad also has very intense anxiety, and I understand where it comes from that point, because sometimes I have anxiety attacks in the shower. I think it's just because you relax in the shower and your brain just starts going while you're relaxing because it's nice and quiet, the water feels good, and your brain just starts going a mile a minute. And I have anxiety attacks where it feels like I can't breathe even though I'm breathing just fine. So I get those in the bathroom, so I understood where he was coming from. But he didn't even want to shower in the bathroom. He couldn't use the like toilet. He needed help for everything. And I got to the point where in June my mom goes, "Okay, I think we need to bring you to the hospital. Things aren't looking good." So he goes to the hospital, and we find out that his body is full of liquid. His legs are full of liquid. His lung is full of liquid. His left lung has collapsed at this point. Everything was full of liquid. So they had to give him a bunch of shots, needles, put tubes in him, try to get this water out. He had to go through like a surgery to get this water out of him. They wanted to go inside him and try to inflate his lung again. They're trying to repair the lung. And like as this is all going on, I'm like, "Okay, chummy, I think we need to go down to Florida." So we get in the car and we go down to Florida and we surprise him. So we go into the hospital. He's sitting there. He's looking better than what he did on FaceTime. They're starting to get more color to his skin because before he was looking so gray and pale as a ghost. He was so excited to see us. I sat there the whole time talking with him. Baby B was in there talking to him. He gave him a kiss, and he was so happy to see Baby B, which warmed my heart. It really did. And we were there for about 5 days, and things were looking better for him, and I was just thankful I went down there to be able to see him. So it seemed like everything was going to be going great. I left him, I told him I loved him, and we kept talking ever since. He got out of the hospital, was back home for about a week, went back into the hospital again. And it was like this for a while. He kept going back out of the hospital, back into the hospital, out of the hospital, into the hospital. And they told him they wanted him to get a surgery done. My dad does not like surgeries. He doesn't like the hospital. The whole time he was in the hospital, he was just crying to my mom to take him home. He didn't want to be there anymore. And so they are trying to get him to get the surgery done. They wanted to open up his chest to try to see where the water was coming from, because at this point they didn't really understand where the water was coming from. His left lung, that was slowly starting to open up again, was completely deflated. They needed to get in there. But my dad refused it. He didn't want the surgery. He said he just wanted to go home and relax before he get the surgery done. I cried to him and begged him to get that surgery done, but he just did not want to hear it from anybody. He went home for 2 days, got really sick again, and wound up going back into the hospital. Now, as he was in the hospital, my mom was trying to get that surgery done for him, but the liquid that was inside of him started to turn into like a maple syrup type texture. And they said if they operated on him, there was a very large chance that he would die on the operating table. And as all this was going on, my dad started acting funny. He didn't know how to use his cell phone anymore. Whenever I would call him, he didn't know how to answer the phone. He didn't know how to work the television. He'd call me saying the TV wasn't working. He didn't know how to turn the TV on. He started getting to points where he just wouldn't talk. He'd go, yeah, just like a bunch of groaning and just making noises. He started just playing, like we gave him this Vikings blanket because my dad's a huge Minnesota Vikings football fan. We got him this nice big comfy blanket for him, and he uses it all the time. He used it in the hospital, and he was like playing with the corner, and I would say, Dad, what are you doing? What's wrong with the blanket? And he would just keep saying, oh, I'm just trying to get it straight, just trying to get it straight. And he would do that for hours, just kept moving the blanket over and over and over. And I could see his mind was starting to slip. He wasn't there anymore. He didn't really want to talk anymore. Every time I'd call him, he'd be like, here's your mother. My brother was down there helping out my mom. He was also trying to get a job at the Orlando airport because my brother works for the airport. So he was there at the right time helping them out and trying to figure out what was going on with our dad. The whole time he was there in the hospital, he would get parts where he would get really better and then parts where he didn't. And the whole time while he was there, his mind was just slipping. And then all of a sudden, the one day he calls me up and he's himself again. And he was like, hey, Pinkley, how are you doing? How's my little boy doing? And asking about baby B and how everything's going. He's talking like normal. I was so happy to hear him talking like normal again. I thought things were finally going to start turning around. He said he was feeling great. Everything was going good. And that evening, Chummy B comes home, sits down in front of me and says, we have to talk. It's serious. And right away I'm like, is it my dad? Is everything okay with my dad? Is my dad dead? Did something happen? And Chummy B starts crying and telling me that my dad is being moved into hospice and there's nothing more that can be done. So I just remember bawling. I cried so hard. I didn't want to lose my dad. It didn't feel real. It felt surreal. It felt like a lie. It felt like a joke. It felt like a dream that I was going to wake up from soon. And I just heard him and he was fine. He was talking great. So I call my mom right away. She's crying on the phone. She has the FaceTime on, and My dad's laying there on the bed with his mouth wide open, moving his mouth back and forth as if he's talking to someone, but nothing's coming out of his mouth and his eyes are completely shut. And he's like that for days upon days. And I call, and all I can say is, like, Dad, I love you. And he's just laying there with his mouth open, and all I can do is talk through the FaceTime and say, I love you, and you're the best dad I've ever had. And it was just a waiting game, a terrible, terrible waiting game every day. It was like, is he still there? Is he gone? So time went on, and he was laying there in the bed looking like he was talking to somebody. And then at some point, my mom said that my dad was laying there and he was reaching up into the air, and he said, "It hurts, Mom. I can't breathe, Mom," to his mother. The next day, my mom went in, held his hand, played their song that they have for their wedding, and my dad died. And she FaceTimed me to see his body one last time. There he was, laying on the hospital bed at hospice, with the Vikings blanket laying over him as he was wheeled away. And it's an image that haunts my mind for the longest time right now. I talk to him every day on the phone, and I love you. My mom would say, "Can you open your eyes? That's Pinkley there. He's talking to you." And the one time he was able to open his eyes and say hi, to know how scared my dad was of doctors and everything, I felt so much pain that I wasn't there in person, but he was also so far gone. It wouldn't have changed anything, but I made sure to call and FaceTime more than 5 times a day to be there for him. And I just felt so much guilt that I decided this past year that I was gonna move to North Carolina. I had no idea I would lose my dad during this time. I just felt so much guilt. But he would say on the phone all the time, like, "I'm so glad you made that move because baby B wasn't living the best life he could in Florida because he got way too hot. He could never go outside, even though he always wants to play outside because he would get so hot and red bumps on his face from the heat." He cared about baby B more than anything, would do anything and everything for him. Even while my dad was sick in the hospital, he was thinking about baby B the whole time because baby B likes helping me clean the house. He always mimics me when I'm vacuuming or sweeping. He's always trying to help. So my dad, while he was in the hospital, found this nice little janitor type of thing for baby B, and it came with a broom and a vacuum that actually worked and made the vacuum noise, and a mop and a little brush and a little custodial cart. And he said, "Oh, I looked everywhere for that because I wanted to make sure he had a vacuum that would sound like a vacuum because I know he would love that." He also bought him a bunch of Bluey clothes and the Bluey dolls because Baby B's a huge Bluey fan. He always did everything for my son. So at this point, I cried. I basically felt like I was in La La Land, like I wasn't accepting anything. I didn't believe this was real. And then shortly after, my dad's body was transferred to New Jersey because, as you guys know, we are originally from New Jersey. a long time ago, my parents already bought themselves a crypt in the mausoleum in New Jersey. So I knew where he was gonna go. It was already all set up for him. My brother got everything ready because he still lives in New Jersey with his family. When my dad was flown over there, my brother was the one that took him off the plane because he's from the airline. So him and his friends all took my dad off the plane, and it was nice that he was taken so well care of. And shortly after, we drove up to New Jersey. And when we went into the funeral home, I couldn't believe that my dad was smiling in the casket. He had flowers from a bunch of people. There was a lot of people that showed up, people I didn't know that came from his old job at PSENG in New Jersey. He had a lot of love, a lot of love. And it gave me peace that I saw my dad laying in that casket looking as good as he did. He was buried with that Vikings blanket as well that we gave him, and he was smiling. But it didn't hit bad till like a week after, because that's when things started to really hit me that he's no longer here. I used to call my dad up to 3 times a day. I'd call him every single morning. I'd FaceTime him so he could see his grandson. I'd call him for every little thing that baby B has accomplished and done, and he'd always be like, "Oh, how's my little boy doing? How's my little boy doing now?" And my dad was my everything. I was very close to my dad, and it hurts so bad to know he's not here no more. He was my little everything. When I was having anxiety, I'd call him. He'd always calm me down. Whenever I needed a laugh, he would be the one to joke around. He was always there for me if I needed anything. He was even there when I gave birth to my son, even though he really didn't want to be there because he hated the hospital. And he was like to my mom, "Oh, come on, let's go. I'm sure you don't want us here," trying to get out of there. And I said, "No, Dad, you can stay." And he gave me this face. I'm like, "Oh, geez, now I really can't go." He was just there through everything. And I have not much of a big family. My family is very small. And my family is also on the older side. Like, my father died at 73 years old, and I'm 29. My older brothers are way older than me. My one brother is 42, and my other one's 47. I couldn't believe that he's gone already. I wasn't expecting it. It just spiraled out of control. This whole experience has just been so inescapably lonely. It really shows you your own mortality, and it's just beyond hard right now because my dad was my everything. He was my comfort, my safe place, the place I'd go to just to feel better, the person that would make me laugh, the person that would always be there for me at the drop of the hat. And to not be able to grab my phone and call him right away, to talk to him, to hear his voice, to just have him anymore. It's so beyond mind boggling and depressing, and it puts me in the wrong mindset. And I've been reaching out for help because I need to go to like a grief support group or something, because my mind has been in all the wrong places, and I need to learn how to navigate this new normal with my dad, who is now in a better place while I'm still here and have to be there for my own son, just like how he was there for me growing up and always being that shining light for me. I need to continue on, and I'm going to be making a tribute video to my dad, one that showcases all the great times I've had with him. I will be releasing that as soon as I start feeling better in a more together headspace. I just wanted to let you guys know that I am here. I am by no means okay right now, but I am trying my best to try to get back to okay. And I'm thankful that you guys are still here and still supporting me, even though I have been gone this whole time and trying to figure out my own health issues, along with being hit with losing my father, is the most devastating thing this year could have brought to me. And I'm scared because the upcoming months, the holidays are here, and they're usually my most favorite time of year. And that's thanks to my dad for always making holidays so wonderful for me growing up. And now that he's not here, and there's going to be a big hole in my heart during that time. And I'm just so broken. I'm beyond broken. But thank you guys for being here, and I'll be back as soon as I possibly can. Thank you all. I really truly appreciate every single one of you that's been there for me and messaging me and emailing me and tweeting at me and showing me support and comfort. I truly appreciate you guys, and I really needed that right now because 23 hours out of the day I am crying and trying to be strong and not to give in to the darkness that's going over my head. I will be okay. I will make it through this because I am my dad's daughter. He was strong, and I will be too. Thank you guys. Love you.